Well, good morning, everybody. Need a break after that bio. Woo, very good. I'm hoping a video works. I know what it's like. I've been in your boots and sitting in years and years and decades of training courses, and it's an honor to be here, quite frankly. So I'll try and keep this fast-moving, relatively lighthearted, but also because I knew I was facing, and pardon me for using pay grade, not rank, but that's the inter-service nature, E3 through E9 here today. I kind of modified my pitch to cover y'all. By the way, born and raised in New York, married a Texas girl, learned how to say y'all. Anybody an Astros fan? Yeah, right. Okay. Yankees fan. It's a rough night last night. Anyway, I've been doing this. I've been a student of leadership for a long time. I made a bunch of mistakes as a leader. Happy to share those with you. But also, I'm in charge of leadership development now in the civilian sector. No, wait. In two unique cultures, the academic and the medical culture. How interesting is that? Academic and medical professions like ours, the military. Professions. But both of them are professions in which individual, good job, I thought this would take longer. I was going to start telling jokes, sock puppets. Okay, I'll finish the sentence though. They're professions where individual achievement is how you advance. I'm the smartest guy in the world, smartest gal in the world. I publish these incredible things. I become famous. I was riding down from Austin this morning, heard about the 3 Nobel Prize winners. They're individual, incredible scientists. On the medical side, I'm the best doctor, healthcare professional, etc. And so you get promoted. You get promoted based on individual achievement. Why don't you think about that? How much team building have they done? Suddenly, the best doctor you've got is the president of a medical school. Holy cow. So our chancellor in the University of Texas system, Admiral retired Bill McCraven, Navy SEAL, knows the deal, how important leadership is. And he actually created the position I'm in because he saw the need in the academic and medical cultures. What I'm going to do, I'm going to set something up. I want to show you a little icebreaker video. Got to turn the clock back now, gang. Okay, it's Iraq, 2010. I'm blessed to be commanding the 3rd Infantry Division, Task Force Marne, an all-service outfit. We had responsibility for the 7 provinces in northern Iraq, right? The 7th province in north of Baghdad. So we had the Kurdish, had a little Sunni Shia fault line in Diyala. Many of you have been there, but had the Kurd Arab thing going. Had the city of Mosul. If you're following that, ISIS has got it right now. It's kind of ugly. Very frustrating for me to watch all the progress we made, and ISIS slicing into that. But let's take back to July of 2010. It's July 1st. I am in my headquarters at Speicher, an incredible airfield near Tikrit, and again, July 1st. There's a man with a thick neck and relaxed grooming standards in my office. The Joint Special Operations Command. Okay. I'm sorry for the younger ones. Beard, long hair, thick neck. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I'd get a laugh out of that. Anyway, he's in my office and he's talking about ending the career of a very bad man in the city of Mosul. So it was a special operations, conventional force operation was going to happen that night. It was about 8 p.m. That night, after midnight, we were going to go after this guy and kill or capture this person in Mosul, and he needed the 3rd ID's help. So we're planning. Now, for you leaders, a climate setter for you all is who gets access to you. Who does, especially if you senior non-commissioned officers, who doesn't need an appointment to see you? That sends a message. So when I was a division commander, I said, okay, here are the people who don't need an appointment. Chaplain, you can just walk in anytime. Obviously, my sergeant major, walk in anytime. I mean, goodness gracious. Chief of staff, I had a couple other folks, lawyer. But another one was my public affairs officer, because I knew how important it was to know what's going on in this viral age where stories can roll. A Facebook posting about the condition of your barracks could just make the headlines in a very short order. So my PAO could walk in anytime. So there I am, planning the demise of one of the worst terrorists in Iraq. And there's a knock on the door. Door opens, it's my PAO. And I look at him and I say, yes, Jeff? He said, sir, the Golden Isles Chamber of Commerce is having a golf tournament on July 4th. You know, the blood starts going to the base of my skull, and I'm like, but, you know, always hold off before you rip somebody's face off. And I said, okay, Jeff, why is that important? They would like a video message from you. So I took a deep breath, and I was about to just tear him up for interrupting me about that. But in my mind's eye, I saw the faces of the Golden Isles Chamber of Commerce. And I knew that this was a group of civilians back on the coastal Georgia, South Carolina, who cared so much about the military that they created something called the landings. Imagine Army, Navy, Air Force relief with no strings attached. A fund for troops and families. Imagine, well, I mean, these were the people that every time the C-17 landed at Hunter Army Airfield, they were lined up, I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning with flags and hugs as we came down the ramp. And so I calmed down and I said, it was a Saturday night, I said, calm down. I said, Sunday morning, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., bring the camera. And I figured I'd deal with it later. Well, the result was this video, which I hope works, because I just spent a lot of time telling you. We'll try it. Go ahead. Let's try it out there. Well, Sergeant Major, what do we got?
Hey, sir, we got a par 2 two-man Al-Qaeda mortar crew.
Two-man Al-Qaeda mortar crew?
Right.
What do you recommend for clubs, Sergeant White?
Sir, we only got one club to do the drawdown.
One club left? All right. 8 iron. Al-Qaeda. Let's see what ball we use. No, give me the Mark 82. There you go. All right. Happy Independence Day, everybody. Have a great golf tournament, and may all your shots be lethal.
Can you go back to just this? I got to make a leadership point. Go back to the very beginning and hold at that picture. Just hit pause with the picture of the troops. Stop it. Thanks. Okay. All right, so I got it done. 2 messages for you leaders, you rising leaders. One, you always have time to communicate to important audiences. You always have time. You just have to make it. Okay? Second one is, I want you to look at that group of soldiers. We're going to talk about courage today. And we're talking about the courage, in my mind, to confront the uncomfortable issues. All right. This was about the 10th month of a 13-month deployment. And by now we had done a number of videos for, you name it. You know, Christmas, Thanksgiving, we've done a number of videos. And in every video, I didn't want to stand there in front of anybody watch. Well, I hate it. There was a senior enlisted advisor of a service, which will remain unnamed, but it wasn't the Army, in Europe, who would come on AFN Europe and give a wonderful message to the enlisted force back in the day. But the way he'd do it is, hi, I'm Silas Smith, blah, 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 blah. I want to tell you how proud I am of you all. I was not going to do that. So, and I also didn't want to be alone. So most of my videos were with my sergeant major. You saw Jesse Andrews up there, never went anywhere without my wingman. The other thing was, I wanted troops with me. And I get to the uncomfortable courage part. So I say for the first video, I mean, we got there like a weekend. Sure, they want a video message from Iraq. Okay, let's do it. But I want a group of troops with me. PAO, make sure you bring, I'd like about 10 soldiers behind me. He went and grabbed the first 10 he could find, which were from my network platoon. My network platoon was all African American males. And standing behind me were all, I walked up to the group and what do I say? What do I say? Do I say you're too black? I mean, come on. I looked at him, I think, I said, man, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get a representation of the demographics of the division. And I could recite the percentages of race, ethnicity, and gender because I got the personnel report every morning. So I said, I mean, we're not 100% African American. We are, in fact, 24% African American. So, 4 years staying, everybody else leave. Anyway, but we had to go through it 2 or 3 times, but there was a moment where I said to myself, no, I'm not going to say anything because, it's going to, it's a little touchy. But it took a leader saying, let's talk about proper representation. It took a leader broaching an uncomfortable topic. And what you see standing behind me is an exact representation of the number of males, females, and the ethnic, I'm sorry, I am missing an Asian Pacific Islander. But everything else is true. And the reason I'm missing one is because, swear to God, the way I got these soldiers was it was Sunday morning, I'm going through the plywood cubicle division headquarters. I'm going like, hey, Kowalski, come with me, Smith, Rodriguez, and then I'm looking, and I couldn't find I knew I had 2 soldiers in the G2 that I wanted. Neither did. But anyway, point is, it takes a leader to broach the uncomfortable subject. It takes a little bit of courage to do that too. And the way you say it is so important. The words you use, the tone you use, the explanation. You know that you all can move mountains if you know why you're doing something. So one of the leader's most important responsibilities is explain why we're doing something. And gang, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes, 80% of the time, the why makes sense. I'll level with you, 20% of the time, the why is stupid and does not make sense. But you still tell them. Okay? Now you don't say, like, I don't know, it makes no sense. Chief Master Sergeant says we got to do it. Like, it's great. You don't say that kind of thing. Anyway. Okay, we go to my slide deck, please. Thanks, Roy. And I've got the controller with me. I'm sorry. Yeah, I do. Yeah. 2 most common words said at the Pentagon. Next slide. You guys are a tough audience. I'm telling you. Okay. All right, here's my baggage. Kind of like Sergeant Jorge over there. I'm going to give you a short burst on me. 35 years of making mistakes. You can check out the rest there. But I do have a lot of dedicated professional study on leadership. It was my thing. I was an airborne ranger infantry officer. Yeah. But, leadership theory on the civilian side. And now I'm in the civilian side, working it for Chancellor McCrae. I like you to think of these things when you come to these sessions. Think of them as a professional listening halt. Look at what a listening halt is. Now, I realize the Air Force, it's maybe be with pararescues or, I'm not sure. But for the ground forces, listening halt is a very important thing to master. It's when you're crossing dangerous terrain. You can read it. But the things I like about it is you stop from your busy lives and you pause just for a moment, like this morning, and you listen intently. You listen intently to see if you need to change your azimuth. So, I like to use metaphors and that sort of thing. And then my favorite part of the thing about listening halt is you get up, you move out with temporary confidence, because you're going to need another listening halt as you continue to move. I figured I'd throw that in your brain housing group, see what happens. Okay, here's the setup for what I'm going to talk about. And please, for the senior non-commissioned officers in here, hang with me. I'd ask you to take this away. I am targeting the more junior with some of my words. And if I use a rank that's Army, pardon me, just translate it. But here you go. Gang, you are continuing to form your character. It's still within your power. And, think about that. You can decide what kind of person you will be. And then, it's so important that this initiative is in play right now in the Air Force, because the elements of character make you an effective leader. Gang, I'm telling you, studied it. Yeah, the most brilliant academicians in the nation and the world and what they're talking, the elements of character fit what people say make the best leader. So pay attention to those. Pay attention to the character. And most importantly is, you grow your character. So, you might think you're in a rut of your current state of character. It's within your power to change that. But it's not something you're handed. This one is completely on you individually. Okay, so Abraham Lincoln. Now, you may look this up. This quote, I've seen this quote modified about 6 ways for Sunday, and it's a little bit longer, but I cut out what I thought was the best part. What is character? You had a great I love the genetic definition, because that's my point too. You'll see in a second. But if reputation is your shadow, character is the tree that's casting the shadow. Character is the basis of your reputation. It gets confused. It is not your personality. It's actually sourced from a word that means imprint, ingrained. And it's a unique mark, unique to each of you. The Air Force wants common elements of character, but the Air Force knows that no matter what the strength of the Air Force is, there will be that many hundreds of thousands of different individuals with a strength of character that is their own. It's individual. And you control it. So, this goes to the genetic. I'm reinforcing what Sergeant Jorge said about the hope you don't mind, that's kind of British. Brits call me General Tony. I kind of like that. Anyway, Sergeant Jorge, now I'm a civilian. Hard to say. It is based on universal moral and ethical principles. We have been handed these principles, but it is a pattern of behavior, thoughts, and feelings, and it's tested every day. But again, reinforcing the good NCO, it's how you respond to situations. Character is reflected in how you respond to situations. Okay? All right. I like you to think of. I'm 58. I still work out pretty hard. Feel like they're going to take away my Ranger tab if I don't. But I still think my sergeant major is going to show up and challenge me to pull-ups or push-ups, without me knowing it. Don't want to embarrass myself. But I'd like you to think of, since you grow it, and it is element of personal strength, every reaction, every time you are faced with a situation that requires a decision about your response, it's a repetition in the gym of moral character. And you just got to get your reps in. The more reps you get in, the stronger you will be. Okay. And I've already talked about that. It is a key to success in life. I see it in the civilian world. People know those of weak character, and they are passed over for jobs and such. So I'm going to, my next, here's the meat of the pitch, what I'm going into now. From all of my leadership study, there are 6 elements of character that are also elements of effective leadership. I'm only going to cover 3. I'm going to blitz by the first 3. You want to come back and talk about it, I'd be happy to. I'll also talk about, I'll get to Q&A, and you can ask me anything about anything, and even if it's not on topic. Okay, so here we go. There are 6. I'm going to build them one at a time. Enterprise vision. Again, I'm doing these quick. Enterprise vision is you understand where you fit in the bigger picture. The Air Force has a mission. The Air Force has an ethos. I'm sure AETC has a mission and a vision, etc. Are those up on the wall? Do you understand where you fit in those? That's an example of understanding where you fit in the bigger picture. Intellectual curiosity. The knowledge that you don't know everything, and the discipline to seek out new knowledge. Again, I can hit more of these with examples if you want, but I'm blitzing through them. Selflessness. I'm talking to a group that is selfless. I don't need to bank on this, but look, it's a fact. Leaders eat last. If I could just sum it up that way. One thing that I've noted, a quick aside on this one though, leaders are trained, it's ingrained in us to be the last person in line for a good deal, right? Put your junior soldiers, junior officers in front of you. Some of leaders have forgotten that they need to be first in line for the bad deals. Just remember that one. Whether it was Bosnia in 1996, January 96, we were living in, we were spread out everywhere, all over northeast area called Birchville. Anyway, the Postamina corridor, and many of my soldiers were bunking down in these granaries. It was winter. The granary, rats and mice, and there was a new virus back in '96 that we did not have a vaccine for, that was transmitted when you inhale the air in an environment like that, where there's lots of rats and vermin. I'd love to give you the down and dirty on that. It's pretty gross. Anyway, so they tried out this vaccine, got approved to give to us. So my troops were remembering, some of them were Gulf War veterans who were told to take anti-nerve agent pills, which really, I don't know if those work, but anyway, they weren't buying this experimental thing. Anyway, so I stood in front of formation, took my shirt off, it was like 28 degrees. I said, "Doc, shoot me up." Boom, so in front of several hundred soldiers, I took the vaccine first. I made a little, kind of did, just kidding. Anyway, okay, all right, well, the old man's going to, and of course I had one soldier in the back, how do we know that was part of the vaccine? Okay, but be first in line, that is more of a humorous example, but be first in line for the bad deals. When you know everyone's got something bad, especially in this viral world where we all talk about what the boss is doing, step up first. You mean spend time on that? Okay, courage. Sergeant Jorge hit it right. It's not physical courage, although if you want to talk about, quick aside, I don't mean dismiss physical courage. I've sat in so many pre-deployment hangars, walking up and down the rows of my troops, whether it be 10th Mountain or 3rd ID, and looking in the eyes of first deployers and seeing their self-doubt. It wasn't fear, it was, am I going to measure up kind of thing, and talking to folks about it. So it really did boil down to physical concern about their physical courage. I would offer that one of the neatest things to do is to read history about physical courage. You know, read Medal of Honor, Navy Cross, Distinguished Service Cross recipients, et cetera, et cetera. Just read those things, and you see what's in our heritage, what's in our ethos as soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and know that that's what we're supposed to do. You know what? Something stuck with me. I was reading history when I was a second lieutenant, and it was about lieutenants. I was reading about lieutenants, and lieutenants in World War I. The British lieutenants were told an officer's duty is to show their soldiers how to die. And I thought to myself, well, that's rather morbid. But then I thought about it, and I realized that I can take that, use it, but it was a purpose that under stress, under fire, I know I was trained that my voice had to be the calmest on the radio when we use radios, and so on. So I read about physical courage, I'm not dismissing it. But I'm talking about the harder courage, the moral courage piece. And I boil it down this way. It's the courage to confront. I'm just going to get to I got a couple of stories for you, and I just want to make sure I don't screw it up. Confront what? Well, confront a wrong. Gang, there's no time in service, time in grade requirement to do this. I'm in Iraq. I'm executing non-judicial punishment. It's UCMJ session, and before me is a first sergeant of a cavalry troop who is accused of uttering phenomenally racist remarks and running a climate in the cavalry troop that was absolutely oppressive. And he ruled by fear. I knew about the captain. I wrote the captain off. I mean, he was weak. But I had really strong lieutenants and really strong platoon sergeants. And I asked the platoon sergeant, a platoon sergeant who was present for some of the remarks. I said, "Sergeant, why didn't you say anything?" "Well, sir, it's first sergeant. That's just him." I asked the lieutenant. This one bothered me more, actually. "Lieutenant, you knew what the first sergeant was saying and doing was absolutely wrong. Why didn't you say anything?" "Sir," this is his response. "Sir, the first sergeant's got 28 years of service. I have 2. I didn't think it was my place." Oh my gosh. Where did we raise you? I didn't think it was my place. The lieutenant who outranked the first sergeant. Gang, that's the kind of courage I'm talking about. Perhaps even harder for y'all, I'm assuming, because it was hard for me in the beginning, is confronting a peer that's going astray. You know, somebody who is absolutely doing the wrong thing. I don't know, alcohol, drugs, self-medicating some way with prescription drugs, doing something you know is absolutely wrong. I'm at the United States Army War College, and it's the day before graduation. And my operations officer, a female colonel, brings in a member of the, by the way, I'm sorry, the United States Army War College, just like the Air War College at Maxwell Air Force Base, inter-service, interagency, about the students are about the 20-year mark of their career. So they're career folks, and they're going from the operational to the strategic level in their education. Okay, so set the stage. So I've got this. My operations officer, a female aviator, colonel, wonderful, wonderful officer, almost drags a woman into my office. A GS-15 from one of the government agencies. A student all year. The student arrived the previous August, and now it's June 3rd or 4th. And my colonel says, "Sir," Mary, not her name. "Mary has something to tell you." Mary says, "I've been harassed since November by a colonel." And now, in me, I wanted to say, inside me, the words were forming to say, "Why are you telling me this now?" That would have been the absolute wrong thing to say, because I wanted to know who this colonel was. So I immediately believed her, and I said, "Okay, tell me about this. I'm very, very sorry this happened, sincerely, but tell me the story." And in part of the story it was, I said, "Did you go to a faculty member?" "Yes." "Well, she went to a faculty member that was brand new, civilian, didn't really know how to handle it, mistake." That caused me to train faculty better that next summer. But the thing that bothered me most was she went to another female colonel student, and that female colonel said, "Look, we don't tell on each other. It'll ruin a career." Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. We don't want the career to advance of someone who harasses. So I gave you a junior person and a senior person who lacked the courage, lacked the strength of character to confront a wrong. Gang, it also means confronting, when you get more senior NCOs, when you get more senior, it means that when you confront, I'm assuming all senior non-commissioned officers and officers will confront when they see something wrong. I'm making that assumption. It means that you'll be put in controversial situations. You'll be thrust into the public eye in some way, shape, or form. Maybe public just Lackland, maybe public national, military.com, Air Force Times, who knows. Especially when you disagree with a public official. And it puts you at professional risk. Confronting puts you at professional risk. And I mean, I've got several stories for you that my own, and it worked for me 9 times out of 10. Let's put it that way. I'll give you one of the times, and if you want to hear more, I give it to you. So, Battalion Commander, Bosnia. It's 1996, late 1996. Just for those of you not familiar with the Balkans, in Bosnia at that time, they were forming a 3-part government because they couldn't decide on a government. So the government was part Bosniak, which is Muslim, part Bosnian Serb, and part Croatian. The idea is they'd rotate presidents if they got it all together. Well, anyway, en route to, and the United States was painted as favoring the Muslims back then, and really not liking the Serbs, who were close allies with the Russians. Came to pass that somewhere in Bosnia, not in my sector, a Muslim unit did something bad. The Bosnian Muslim unit did something bad. So the idea was senior leaders in NATO and such wanted to, quote, punish the Bosnian army, Bosnian Muslim army. And they decided to do it by targeting a unit on the Russian line to prove that, hey, look, the Americans don't favor the Muslims. I'll even show you that we'll take down a Muslim unit that's right there in front of the Russians. Problem was, it was in my sector. Worst problem was, it was the best Bosnian brigade in my sector. From the time we came in, this brigade commander, if anybody knows Civil War history, he was the Bosnian equivalent of Joshua Chamberlain to his men, to the town that he defended. Multiple wounds, incredibly brave man, pure of heart, totally supported the Dayton Peace Accord. Everything I asked him to do, he did, and that's the one they wanted me. They wanted my unit to come in with a show of force. Tanks, Bradleys, helicopters, intruders circling overhead with jet noise off an aircraft carrier, and take all this brigade's weapons from them. And I thought that was wrong, absolutely wrong. So I said it was wrong. I sent it up the chain. I said, this is wrong. And I don't want to do it. Pick another brigade. Matter of fact, I've got a brigade in my sector we can pick. The guy's a loser. He's an idiot. I'd love to take all his guns. No, this is the one. Okay. I sure it's the wrong thing to do. I don't want to do it. I'm fortunate to have a brigadier general named Abizaid as my assistant division commander. He said, he came to my base. I explained it to him. He said, Tony, you're right. We got to go straight to the top. So you got to picture this. I'll shorten the story. We're in a little plywood room at STI, a secure telephone. Speakerphone is on. There's 2 4-stars. There's 2 4-stars on the other end. A 2-star, my 2-star commander, General Abzey, standing next to me and me. And so I said, General Abzey was great. He said, he kind of introed the thing. He said, here's the issue, and Tony's going to tell you what he thinks. And so I did. I argued like a trial lawyer not to do it. And the good news, General Abzey said, sir, I think Tony's right. It's the wrong call. So why am I, okay, and then I was ordered to do it anyway. Here's what I did. I disobeyed orders. At 4 a.m., the idea was we were supposed to have American tanks and Bradleys like break down the gate and come in, show force, and big deal out of it. I drove down at 4 a.m. into this little slum, ghetto-looking town where I knew Yasmin, never get this, Yasmin Meskovich was the guy's name. Little four-vehicle Humvees, snaking our way through this mud-spattered, moonlit little slum. I found his house. I knocked on the door. His girlfriend answered. Anyway, and Yasmin and I sat on the steps, and I said, Yasmin, in 2 hours, your world's going to change. Here's what's going to happen. And he looked at me and he said, Tony, what should I do? I said, meet me at the gate, open the gate, cooperate. More words were exchanged, but that was essentially it. My boys and girls showed up, 6 a.m., gates were opened, arms rooms were open. They helped load the weapons onto the trucks. It was peaceful, went fine. Faced a mob outside the gate because he was defending a town, but that's a different story. So, happy ending, but not really. But what General Abzey did for me gave me confidence at a time in my career when I was facing more and more gray areas in the confrontation then. And so I advanced from lieutenant colonel believing it's the right thing to do. There was a moment in the Pentagon when a very famous person you all know, if I said the name, I'm not, a very famous person, I witnessed that person lie to the Vice Chief of Staff, Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and it was going to impact the policy decision in NATO. Hey, cut me some slack. I'm going to leave the year out and all that other stuff just to protect the guilty. And I literally go back to my, I tried to, it was one of those things, one of those meetings, the video teleconference broke up, everybody left. And I'm standing there going, what just happened? I think I know what just happened. I think that guy lied, but he didn't lie. He's not the kind of person who wouldn't lie, would he? And put 2 and 2 together and understood why it all happened. I went to the Vice Chairman's office. He went to another meeting. Bottom line is, I went back to my office and I said, okay, I got to go confront this guy, tell him he lied, and tell him that I asked him to change what he said, or I will report that he lied. I thought that would be the way to go. And so, I was a colonel, by the way. And so, before I leave my office to go do that, I called my wife. And I said, "Hey, sweetheart, okay, here's the deal. This is probably it, okay? So, when I get just be thinking about where you want to live. Okay. And my wife goes, "Yeah, I'll back your play." I mean, in more feminine and appropriate terms. And she, so I hang up the phone. Blood's up. Your blood's up. I'm bowing up. Words are forming. I'm striding down the E-ring, the outer ring of the Pentagon. And by pure accident, my one-star boss is out of his office. He never does this. It's like fate. He's out of his office, and he's standing in the E-ring, just kind of like, just getting some air. And I go by him, he goes, "Hey, Tony, where are you going?" And I'm like, "Sir, so I'm doing." And he looks at me and smiles and he goes, "You're just roadkill to that guy. You're just roadkill. Let's handle this another way." And he grabs me, and we go into my 3-star office, who's in a meeting. Now, you got 3 stars in a meeting. The 1-star goes blowing by the XO, who's like, but, you can't. And the 1-star opens the door and goes, "Hey, sir, sorry for the interruption. Tony's got something to tell you." So I did. And my 3-star goes, "Are you serious?" "Yes, sir. Meetings in NATO in like 3 hours. Good time to..." And he goes, "Okay." And he swings around. He swings around his desk, just on my word, picks up the red switch, this phone where you punch one button, you get wherever you want. Anyway, he picks up the phone, presses the button, and goes, "Sir, so-and-so. Hey, I got Tony Cucolo standing in front of me. He says that, is that true? Because I know the vice said, okay, great, sir, thanks. I'll call NATO." Hangs up, presses another button, gets the 3-star NATO, changes the decision. It's fixed, and he looks at me and says, "Hey, he wants to have lunch with you." So I went and had lunch, and by the way, lunch was him eating, me watching. But I was raised, that was reinforced at colonel level. So the takeaway is, there's no time in service, time in grade, or condition where confrontation is wrong or inappropriate. If you are a leader, nurture the confrontation, the allowance of confrontation. Nurture that. Allow it. Now, you might have to be my 1-star who goes, "Okay, let's try this another way." Because I'm a grown-up and I've seen this before. You might have to do that. But let me finish on one more. There's another one that wonderful confrontations that here's the last takeaway on courage. Let your scar tissue of cowardice be your strength. What do I mean by that? I'll bet you each of you can think of a time, in or out of the military, when you knew you should have said something and did not. Just think inside. Maybe there's a perfect person out there. I don't mean, you might be. Lieutenant Cucolo standing on the loading dock of an infantry battalion with 2 of his favorite NCOs. One NCO makes a horribly off-color joke to the other one, and they laugh. Lieutenant Cucolo wanted to be liked by these NCOs, and I didn't say anything. For 2 days, it bothered the hell out of me. And then I went back and I said something to the NCO that made the joke. But that stuck with me. That moment of cowardice, I remember to this day. And every time I hear off color, et cetera, I mean, that cowardice is the momentum that propels me into confronting. Had a wonderful non-commissioned officer who overheard a female captain talking about the creepy behavior of a lieutenant colonel. Creepy is defined now, I think. But you all know what I'm talking about. You know, not specific, not absolutely directed, but, you know, anyway. And that sergeant first class, just at the right time, went up to Lieutenant Colonel, sir, your words and actions to Lieutenant so-and-so are making her quite uncomfortable. Lieutenant Colonel, Sergeant, I don't know why you say that. Possibly, I'm not, it's all innocent. Give me the exact word. Yes, sir. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. She perceives you as being inappropriate. And I'm asking you to stop. Wonderful. I witnessed that one. I was kind of his cop when that was going on. Anyway, so he told me afterwards, he said, sir, I had to do something because 2 years ago he told me a moment when harassment was going on, he didn't do anything about it, and he carried that guilt with him. So, we all have moments of cowardice. It should build up scar tissue that we can rub that scar tissue and say, oh man, that hurt, I don't want that to happen again, here's what I'm going to do about it. All right? Okay. That's my shot on courage. Humility, I'm going to blast through the last couple. Humility makes it easy for you to say, I made a mistake. I was wrong on that. You know, twice I followed horribly toxic leaders into leadership of a unit. And I looked at these organizations that if I rolled up a newspaper and held it up, they would all foul themselves. They were frightened of everything. Or they went to professional laziness. You know, professional laziness is where I'm only going to do what you tell me to do. That's easy when you have a toxic leader, because toxic leader is going to tell you what to do and don't do anything different. Anyway, it took me 6 months of accepting responsibility for mistakes, regardless of who made it. If I gave guidance and something went wrong, they'd all come into the conference room. I mean, we'd be at the next meeting, and something was going wrong, and they were all worried about getting crushed. I would say, you know what? Hey, listen, that's my fault. I did not give you enough of the right type of guidance on that. Look, that was on me. But it took 6 months of that until people started modeling that. Hey, sir, that was my fault. You know, I should have done this, that, and the other thing. But humility will allow you to do that. And the other thing humility is, it's a guardrail against human weakness. Humility is the opposite of a sense of entitlement. I deserve to have this. No. Humility is, I will carry my own bags. I'll make my own coffee. Let me do that for you. As opposed to, let me seize the best deal here. Anyway, we can talk endlessly about that. Gang, I'm sorry, I think in the 21st century, the most important element of character, component of character, that is absolutely critical and must be a part of everyone's leadership skill trait is empathy. And empathy is simply the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and actually think about it. My goodness. I got a ton of stories on this, but I also realize I'm running out of time. I need to put you on break soon. But empathy for you younger folks, it will grow in you. Okay, I mean, I was a better judge of the Uniform Code of Military Justice after I became a husband and father than when I was a single officer. Sergeant Smith, what's going on? What's going on at home? Sir, me and the old lady are having a problem, and it's just we disagree on this, that, and the other thing. My boy's been sick. You could see this. You see the stresses and pressures of life that you felt and you put yourself in those shoes. As a second lieutenant at Fort Hood, I go, airborne ranger, tough guy. How hot is it? Oh, it's 130 degrees. Let's go for a run. That was my attitude, which is ridiculous, by the way. But that was me as a second lieutenant. I go out to my platoon formation, afternoon formation, 1300 Fort Hood, Texas, August, 107 degrees. And I go walking up the platoon, and the platoon sergeant, Staff Sergeant Jean-Pierre Louis, I'll never forget him. He's from the Caribbean islands. I said, Sergeant Jean-Pierre, let's move to the motor pool, march to the motor pool. No, sir, we will not. I said, pardon me? No, sir. I go, okay, tell me why. It is too hot. I said, I know it's hot, but we're going to the motor pool. Give you one more chance. Right face, forward march, let's go to the motor pool. No, sir. Okay, all right. Sergeant Jean-Pierre, falling back formation. Sergeant Greeno goes. Sergeant Greeno comes up. And by the way, I can see the smirks on the platoon in ranks behind me. Sergeant Greeno comes up and goes, Sergeant Greeno, you're now platoon sergeant. Move to the motor pool. No, sir. I look over his shoulder, smirks, I go, okay, I got it, that's enough. Okay, follow him in the stairway, it's open stairways, and they went in the shade. They put him in the shade, went to the motor pool. I'll shorten this story, I apologize. I went to the motor pool, I got some bays so we could work in the shade. They were right. I mean, it's armored vehicles, 170 degrees, sitting there all day. I mean, just to open the engine hatch, you need gloves. You leave a wrench out for 5 minutes, it's too hot to touch. It's ridiculous to, intentionally operate in that without trying to change some of the conditions, if you could. So I went down there, I got bays, I was back, I got company mess halls, I went by the company mess hall, I got ice, I got water. I didn't tell anybody this. I also arranged for the Roach Coach truck, the little snack truck, I forget what you call it now. But anyway, I arranged for that guy to come by. Anyway, about 45 minutes later, I come back, I go, okay, fall in, and they all do. And I give the orders, march down there, get up at bays. I didn't say anything about it. I said, okay, doing service maintenance, blah, blah. Rotate the vehicles in and out of the bays. But what I learned was that you don't feel sorry for soldiers, you take care of them. But I had not been putting myself in their shoes. I was doing maintenance with them. I was with them in coveralls and all that stuff, but I thought it was making us tougher. And I was just being stupid. But it goes all the way up to 2-star general, whether it's having an entire chain of command telling me to kick a lieutenant out of the Army because of what he did, and me listening to the lieutenant and understanding that this was not a character flaw, this was just a gross, momentary lack of immaturity by someone who grew up sheltered and not knowing the ways of the world. That lieutenant's a captain today, quite grateful, but the entire chain of command said violated the code of the officer corps, must leave, et cetera, et cetera. I normally didn't go against my chain of command, but empathy caused me to. Empathy is important, gang, because in this viral world where you are in charge of increasing numbers of men and women who talk about you, if you are empathetic, you get the benefit of the doubt. That viral world where the incorrect, the false word comes slinging across the internet, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, the people that know you will say, it does not sound like her. Nope, don't buy it. I know her. She wouldn't make a decision like that. So empathy gets you that as well, and I think it's most important. So let me wrap it up with this thought. These are all components of character, and I want to reinforce they take practice. All these things take practice. You want to work out in that gym of moral character. And your 3 takeaways from me anyway. This is the time in your life to do this. I got 3 tips up there for you. Make it a daily habit that you're ready to make a good first impression. You'd be surprised. It's almost like making your bed. But if you are, if I could use a male aspect of it, shaved, properly dressed, in whatever kind of dress necessary. I mean, and look people in the eye, compliment. If you make it a life habit to make a good first impression, you're way ahead of the game. How do you check yourself, how do you treat this little element of character? How do you treat people that have no impact on you? How do you treat a homeless person? How do you treat the janitorial staff who have no influence over you, perhaps? What do you think of when you look at a homeless person? I pull up in Austin, you're ubiquitous, unfortunately, for them in Austin. I pull up at a light. I got a guy next to me in my Jeep, and homeless guy standing there with a sign, and I roll the window down and I start reaching for money. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Give him some money." Why? I said, "Well, clearly, I'm having a better life than he is. And I feel bad about that." And he said, they just make, he probably does, he's probably really not homeless, probably has a house, blah, blah, blah. I go, "No, I don't know that. I actually don't know that for a fact." Guy comes to the window, this is classic too, by the way. This happened 2 weeks ago. Guy comes to the window, and he sees it's an 8-year-old Jeep, he still sees my Fort Stewart Under Armour airfield sticker on the window. And he goes, "You in the Army?" I said, "I was." He said, "I was in the Army too." "No kidding. Where'd you serve?" "Fort Campbell." "Really? Where was? Victor Dudell." And so we started having this little Army talk. I'm feeling bad for him. Anyway, then the light changed. But I was glad I gave that guy some money. I don't know. I see a lot of callous attention to those less fortunate, to those who people blow by the security forces at the UT system. We have a wonderful little internal police force. They just ignore them. We consider them hired help when actually they're covering our tails. And then take a moment to define success in your profession and your life. I've got a technique for that. If you're interested, I can throw it up there. But that is really important. No kidding. Sit and write down. What is success to me in life? What is success to me in the Air Force or the Navy? Write it down. And by the way, if success in the Air Force or the Navy is attached to rank or position, rewrite it. And why life and profession? Aren't they the same? No. You won't always be in the Air Force or the Navy. And then, this will change over time. Every time you change jobs, every time you move, have a significant change of life, write down your definition of success. Amazing things happen. That clarity comes to you on what's important by chasing something that might not be. Okay. I made this point. These elements of character are important if you want to lead anyone. And then I think the most important ones are courage, humility, and empathy in the 21st century. It's different from the 20th. It's different from pre-9/11. It's different with the accelerated change that technology is bringing. The speed of human interaction makes those three the most important, in my opinion. Okay. These are the things. By the way, I do in fact still run a course in the Army 2 times a year for colonels, GS-15s, and CSM, Sergeants Major, and Chief Warrant Officer 5s. And I'm also a senior mentor for 1 and 2 star generals. But this is what I tell my gang there. Leading anything involves professional risk. You know that, right? But I'll tell you what. When you actually stare professional risk in the face, an amazing thing happens. I mean, really. I don't know how many of you younger airmen have been tested. I know I got some senior NCOs here that have been tested. But you find out why you're serving. And you find out there's a fork in that road. Am I serving for myself or for the profession? And I hope you all take the profession route. Because it requires bravery, and mental toughness. And I tell you what, I had a story I was going to tell you. I won't. I've got these things which I'm gonna stop and turn it back over to Sergeant Jorge for a second. But I've got this list of things in case you want to tag any of them after the break or anything sparks your interest. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have run out of time. Sergeant Jorge, if you want me to, I don't want to. They've been really patient for an hour and 20 minutes. So, what do you want to do?
Sir, we're scheduled for a break, but like I said, we can definitely do a workaround. So if you still have Q&A or if you want to do it right after the break, that is it.
How about if it's okay with you? I'm getting a lot of energy from you. I am getting, you may not have any energy from me, but I'm getting a lot of energy from you. Tell you what, let's take a break because I shorted you Q&A. Take a break, we'll come back, and we'll do a short burst of Q&A because I want you to get to your next portion of this session. Talking to each other is the most important thing, I think. Learning from your peers. But we'll do a short Q&A and I'll leave you alone. Okay, so how many, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
15 minutes, sir.
15 minutes, okay, so like 9:40 everybody? 9:40, thanks.
And we are going to continue with our guest speaker, Mr. Cucolo, who is going to tell us that story that he said he wasn't going to tell. We're not going to leave us like that.
It's okay, I'll finish with that. Because it's kind of a closer. Can we put up the, there, leave that alone. Okay, we don't have to do any of that at all. Don't have to do anything. But I just wanted to open up for, let's go 10 minutes and I'll turn you back over to the great non-commissioned officers here. Any questions about my pitch, issues, thought I was wrong, you're out of order, anything like that? No? Yes, sir.
Sir.
Now, please, everybody, just sit down and just hit me.
Sergeant Delgado, I've been at it since 1984.
Cool.
And so I've seen a lot of changes come our way. They started with the do more with less, and we've been overcoming. And I applaud the new generation because they're a lot smarter for us, and they are doing the job they need to do.
I agree.
And that's what we have to. It takes a lot of character and a lot of fortitude to keep going in what we're doing with what the resources we have.
Right.
And we hit the nail on hit a lot of things for us to overcome and to do your job and do it well with what we have and what we are given.
Yeah, gang, for the junior force, I heard 4 times in my 35 years, 4 times I heard, and the best and the brightest are leaving. So, first of all, I felt mediocre for staying, I guess. And then I looked around and said, you know what? Us mediocre dudes and dudettes are doing pretty good. So if the best and brightest are leaving, I won't say it, but usually it was the best or the brightest in their mind saying that the best and the brightest were leaving. That's not true. There is always a concern about brain drain, talent drain when the economy is good. But my point in even mentioning all this is going off good sergeant's remark, because I only got 5 years on you. You will face times in your career, the sine wave of the budget. Good times, bad times. The sine wave of the popularity of the Air Force or the Navy. Everybody loves you. Oh my goodness, there's a crisis and nobody wants to look at us. I've been through it. This like your character and the ethos that everyone is talking about here today, that will sustain you. And I ask you, that last video right there, if you're looking for, and it's a great leader professional development thing to do with your airmen, your sailors, whenever you're looking for time or a subject, is dissect your oath. Dissect it. And what makes you different from other Americans? What's in that oath that makes you different? It's just a wonderful thing to talk about, and we don't talk about it enough. At least I didn't think so. I used to, for officers, I would dissect the commission. In the Army, there's an NCO creed. Forgive me, is there an NCO creed in the Air Force? Those are things. What does that mean? Anyway, so just talking about that, making them come alive as opposed to, making those words come alive as opposed to just sign on a wall. Yes, sir.
Hey, so you talk about having the courage to speak up or say things. Can you talk about being able to tactfully speak while maintaining some sort of ethos or some sort of credibility?
Hey, good point. Good point. The question was, can you talk about how to speak tactfully when you're confronting? Absolutely. You know, and the only thing, what I really would like to do for y'all, and what we started doing in some corners of the world in the Army, was practical exercises, that's going to sound strange now, in how to make a correction. And it's important because some I agree with my wingman over here that you are a magnificent generation. There's an element of millennials and there's an element of digital natives who are not yet skilled at social interaction. And so actually arming you with the words, hey, give me some phrases to use when I confront. Help me out here. You know, I mean, so we actually have been doing practical exercises with second lieutenants on how to make a correction, just to help them out. You know, I'd hate to, let me give you just broad brush. It's very important the tone of delivery is calm. Never go to great lengths not to make it personal. So instead of, hey, you blank, it's when you did this, it cost me, okay, I'll borrow it from my sergeant first class. Hey, sir, you live in the BOQ 2 doors down from Lieutenant Smith. You see her frequently when you all are going in and out of your rooms. When you say things like, you're looking really good today, or I forget exactly what it was, so you can just 3 examples of what this guy would say. It makes you uncomfortable. Well, that shouldn't, I'm not trying to pick her up, I'm not trying to, sir, it's actually your tone. It's those words and that low Barry White kind of tone you use. That's really creeping around. You know, so what my sergeant first class did was, I'm watching, listening to him, ready to pounce. What he was doing was, he was going like, I'm giving you a chance. I'm giving you a chance to bite this, you know. And if you don't, I'll escalate a little bit with more reinforcing points. So another takeaway is you form the words in your mind and practice a little bit for the right tone, the right words, no personal attack, and for a purpose, and link it to something. And I'd love to spend time going through scenarios with you on it, but I guess practice the words. There's nothing wrong with actually practice. You know, that lieutenant who would not confront the first sergeant actually pulled him aside because I didn't want him to grow up being that way. So, okay, look, we turn the clock back, Lieutenant. Let's practice. Well, what would you now say to the first sergeant? First sergeant, you know you can't use those kind of words. Sir, first sergeant, you know those words are totally against the Army ethos. And you're creating a climate in the company, in the troop, that makes everybody think it's okay to use those words. And that's just wrong. Can we fix this? Will you stop, please? Anyway, and if he doesn't, first sergeant, understand, I got to take this higher because I can't allow this to remain. But practicing the words is really important. Other questions? Yeah. Sean.
Some of the tasks that you're assigned to do.
Right.
About your career, and explain those things to your troops and why. Because you always feel that was beneficial or practical.
Yeah, sometimes. So the question is explaining the why to your troops. Was it always beneficial and practical? And I mean, is your point kind of there are times when it's not beneficial or practical? Yeah, I can see where you say that. That there are times I would this is just me now. This is just me. I would err on the side of telling. So I got burned once or twice when I said to a very large group, okay, look, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going down here. And I'm trusting you that you understand the importance of it, and it's not going. This wasn't OPSEC. This was just something that would have been ugly viral. I got burned twice on that. Somebody went out and was weak and said, "Ooh, I have information, and this guy wants it, and I'll give it to him to look good to this reporter." So I would, to answer your question, yes, there are those times when it's not practical, but I would err on the side if you're facing the two choices, I'd look for the absolute reason not to. You need a really good reason not to. Okay, so we're in, I hate to go back to the Balkans, but long deployments weren't normal back then. And my outfit went across the Sava River and didn't know how long they were staying. And first it was, maybe a month. Then it was, probably 6 months. And then it hit 7th month, 8th month, 9th month. We were there 11 months. But at the 9th month, we were told, I got written orders saying redeploying in October. Prepare to move. Roger, hey, great. So we tell everybody, hey, redeploying, tell families and all that stuff. Oh, you know what? We're going to schedule national elections in Bosnia. The first national elections. The volatile area where you are, you can't leave. So you know how that plays with the ranks, and perhaps even more importantly with family. I mean, all of us in uniform kind of go, yep, okay, got it. But family is a different story. Especially back then when, again, long deployments, if you consider that a long deployment, were not a big deal. Or not routine, pardon me. So I had to break the troops. I had to break news to the troops, and so I brought the majority of. There was one outlying base where I could get everybody from an area, and then my main base where I could get the rest of the battalion. So I stand up on a vehicle. I got a horseshoe formation of the entire battalion. I said, "Hold up," and nobody knew except me. I hold up a set of deployment orders, and I said, "All right, I got our deployment orders here. It says we're deploying on such a date," and I tore them up in front of them. I just ripped the paper up, dropped it on the ground. They're all staring at me. Said, "They're rescinded. We're not leaving." They're like, "What?" And I explained why. And it was actually a point of pride for the battalion because we were in this area that the Dayton Peace Accord had not agreed upon, this Birchco area. And they eventually, anyway, nobody agreed on it. All three entities wanted it. It was very, very, it was a lot of unrest. Anyway, I explained why we were being left was because they were so good. And they knew the culture, and they knew the people, and so on and so forth. But I knew that wasn't good enough. And so I said, so I am allowing you for the next 24 hours to be really pissed off. You can be angry. You're allowed to be angry. You can tell me how you feel, you can complain, you can whine, but at 1900 tomorrow night, you get back to soldier. You got it? Guy comes up to me 2 days later, "Hey, sir, that was really good because, I vented pretty hard for 24 hours. I'm okay now. I'm good." Anyway, but broke it to the troops, broke it to the families, but explained why. Now, you explain why. The other thing about explaining why, you're not going to get to everybody. You can tell somebody why with great clarity, and 90% will get it, and there's going to be 8% that go, "Yeah, well, but I disagree with it," and then 2% that I have no idea what you just said. But anyway, my sergeant major said to me once, he goes, I was looking at the lawyer. I just left my office at Fort Stewart. He always brings his bag of woe. All the guys and the gals are in trouble. So I was dealing with court-martials and, discharges. Anyway, so I feel kind of bad because there's some misbehavior. And he says to me, he comes in and goes, "Sir, what's the matter?" You know, gosh, I got some misbehaving soldiers that really bother me. What do I do? How do I fix this? And he goes, "Sir, you're always going to have 1.7% knuckleheads." And I go, "Sergeant Major, where'd you get that percentage?" He goes, "Sir, you're always going to have 1.7% knuckleheads." So a couple of days later, I'm alone, I'm looking at the stats, I go, I'm going to check this out. So I got all the serious offenses I divided into, it was 1.7%. How did he do that? Anyway. Other questions? Ma'am.
To piggyback off of one of the last questions, how do you personally muster up the courage to confront controversy when dealing with your subordinates or your peers or your leadership?
Yeah, how do you muster up the personal courage to confront? Part of it is, and if it's okay, let me go to the tough boss one. Okay. I hope I get to the answer with this. I'll go tough boss and then peer. I've seen this problem, the problem you just mentioned, in spades. It's the biggest problem. I mean, you'll have an equal opportunity investigation about one little incident, and it opens the door up to a climate in a unit that you didn't know existed. And you go, "Oh my gosh, why didn't we do something with this commander or sergeant major? Why didn't we?" And so I kind of would tell my senior leaders this: look, is it a moral or ethical issue? You don't need anything. You throw down. Okay, I mean, is it... but anyway, moral, ethical, you can get that. You lie about something, I don't know, adultery, fraternization, not sure. It's something like that. Or is the issue personality or practice of command? This is dealing with a tough boss. That's the more common one. Now, you got to check yourself now. You look in the mirror and you say, am I the only one who has a problem with this person? Okay, then maybe it's me. You got to do that one quick check. And then, if the climate is widely held, you actually, so one of the things you do is you ask around, quietly, with your peers. Hey, look, are you feeling the same thing? When I see this done, when I hear that, do you feel the same thing? I'm checking myself. Now, this is a widely held thing. I've seen 3 reactions, and this was to officers, so hang with me now. It works for any rank. I've seen people go into survival mode and just work around the badness. This is the bad personality, toxic thing. I've seen groups of senior non-commissioned officers or both band together and just hang the leader out to dry. That is not helpful for the organization or the higher organization at all. And then I've seen number 3, which is band together and just see if we can power through it. But if it's a moral or ethical issue, you can't just band together and power through it. And that's what I've seen happen most often. You have someone who is a racist or a harasser or something, and folks let it go. They band together and make the unit work as best they can. And so try to avoid mob rule and determine whether or not you'll confront. Does it achieve, what is the threshold to confront? If it's just a bad personality, I mean, there's a bunch of different people out there. I'm not sure if that's worth. But if it's a bad personality that is affecting lives, the mission, then you do. On peers, courses of action, I've seen guys into the none of my business thing, or somebody who's falling out of favor and always getting in trouble, and it's kind of sucks to be you, that doesn't help. Or you say, I think Bob's got a drinking problem. I'm not sure. You see Bob drunk 7 times. You go, I'm not sure he's got a drinking problem. And then Bob gets a DUI, hurts somebody else. Okay, now we'll do something. No. I mean, I tell you what, the number 3 is preferred. Number 3 there is preferred, and to go early as you can. But gang, I'll tell you what, part of your professional reputation is how you take care of your peers. When you get, senior NCOs in here in the room know this, but when you get older, what people remember most about is how you took care of peers. Now, what's a peer? A peer is someone at the same level as you. I say level, it could be a civilian, it could be another service. Somebody at the same level as you who needs help. I'm a colonel in the Pentagon. Navy captain comes walking in and says, "Are you the NATO Europe guy?" "Oh, yes, I am." "Man, I'm from Middle East. I need some help." He's instantly a peer, even though I don't know him. Okay, so I'd ask you to broaden your definition of what a peer is. Always take care of them without question. Doesn't mean do something wrong for them. It means take care of them. Because, gang, I'll tell you what happens. Here are the conversations that generals have and sergeants major have. "Hey, do you know Sergeant so-and-so?" "Yeah, I served with him 3 years ago. Let me ask around." And there you go. People who shine up and ignore left and right and crush down, they get found out. And that's not taking care of yours. Anyway, and then my bottom line is you increase your moral courage to confront by practicing confrontation, actually doing it. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. Actually doing it might cost you your job. Not doing it weakens the Air Force or the Navy and makes you a gutless coward. Nobody might know it, but you will. You don't want to live with that. So, anyway, my thoughts. Other questions? Sir.
I guess we all get people down this.
Right.
Do you think we can bring the best out of people so we're able to have the courage for peers to support us when we need that courage?
Yeah. How do you bring out the best in the people around you for support? I go back to the empathy thing. So even when you're empathetic or empathic, I got a vocabulary time. I think it's both. Anyway, you're empathetic with your peers as well. Understanding what he or she might be going through, or asking questions about them, getting to know them well. The gang you're in the military, you're in the service, you're in a group of people that go places and die. The none of your business thing is out the window. Okay? Your needs, wants, stresses, pressures, etc. must be understood by your wingman. They got to know. So okay, not everything, I got it, but just hey, what's up, man? It's the third day, you look really tired. Strangely soothing. What's up, man? It's the third day, you look really tired. What's going on? Well, I got something going on. Hey, tell me about it. What's happening? Anyway, so I would say the empathy thing that I talked about, that builds, if you have a reputation of that among your peers, it will build a support group. Just hang there. What else can I? Yes, sir.
Sir, can you address the importance of checking emotions when you're dealing with various issues?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A hallmark of a senior leader is mastering the emotionless argument. Emotion alienates people. Emotion gives you, you gotta be careful, I'll come back to it. Emotion is not, I don't want you to be dead fish now. I don't mean that. But being emotional about a subject, a topic, an argument you are making is completely unhelpful. You move from a position of facts to the greatest degree possible, and your advice, which should be fact-based, but may not it's your advice. But when you're making a correction, when you're giving advice, when you're arguing a point, absolutely master emotionless execution of those things, because it just fogs everything over. And by the way, that's all anyone remembers. A quick story. You guys think I'm living in Bosnia or something, okay? But it was an interesting time. So Lieutenant Colonel Cucolo, master of the Post Sabina corridor, feeling pretty full of himself, got my eye at 1,100 people now across Post Sabina corridor, and I'm in my tactical operations center. Radio crackles, and I hear the division commander's voice. My call sign was Black Knight 6. We were the 3rd Battalion, 5th Cavalry, Black Knights, and I was in the 1st Armored Division. That was Iron. So Iron 6 gets on the radio and says, "Black Knight man, this is Iron 6. Is Black Knight 6 in the TOC?" He sounded kind of angry. And I said, as a matter of fact, he sounded so angry. Staff Sergeant Theodore Tucker, he looks up at me, I'm doing RTO duty, he looks up at me and goes, "You want to?" So I went over and I grabbed the hand mic and I go, "Iron 6, Black Knight 6, so Roger over." He goes, "Meet me at the helipad." And I could almost hear the hand mic being thrown around the helicopter. These are very early days of Bosnia, so it was 2 Black Hawks, 2 Apaches. The Apaches were escorting everybody around. Anyway, so I go out to my helipad, and this is a pig farm, and there's mud everywhere, and we put out these little concrete pads. The CV's put in, CV's put in for us, and helicopter flares down, and I'm staying at attention, okay, Kevlar, back then, flak vest is a pre-body armor days. My 9mm on my side, and my gas mask, because we thought somebody would throw gas at us, which is ridiculous. But anyway, but we had to wear it. That's one I couldn't explain. And so I really had nothing for that one. Sure, why wearing a protective mask? Just wear it. So the helicopter lands, blades are still turning. General Bill Nash gets off the helicopter. Now, he's a great guy, cavalryman, mustache, unlit cigar, big boots, almost right below the knee, striding over towards me, helmet, black vest. Comes up to me, I'm standing at attention, and he commences to chewing my butt. I mean, ripping my face. The kind where like spit is coming out. And I'm listening to him. By the way, tower number 1 of the McGovern base is right behind me. So I got 2 guys in an M60 watching the battalion, 2 of my guys watching the battalion commander get his butt chewed by the 2-star. They're right above me. Anyway, he's ripping my face off, and I'm listening, and I realize that he's talking about something that happened in another sector. I'm aware of this, but it happened in another battalion sector. So I'm feeling pretty good now. Because it's not...
IWS Alerts needs your updated contact information.
No, information assurance works. That's good. And so I'm feeling pretty good. I probably even smirked. I'm standing there, I probably went, "Yeah, I got this." And he takes a breath. When he took a breath, I said, "Sir, I believe you're mistaken." Okay, that was a mistake. But what he did was, I'll never forget it. Cigar was in his right hand. And he cocks his hips like this. And he looks at the ground. And without looking at me, he picks up his left hand and he grabs it. The flak jackets had shoulder pads. You guys remember those. And he grabs my right shoulder pad and goes like that. And just shakes me really hard. And then he shoves the unlit cigar into my chest. I remember this because the cigar broke. Helicopter blades were still turning. And little bits of tobacco flew up in my helmet. And he looks at me dead in the eye and he goes, "Just take the shot." And that was really good for a 41-year-old to hear, actually. So I remained at attention. He continued to rip my face off about this thing. Now, I started listening. I ignored the emotion, and I started listening. And I learned things about that I could take away. Things I should be doing, things I shouldn't be doing, and things I should go check because I'm not sure about it. Even though I was getting blamed for everything he was talking about. Anyway, he spun on his heel and he left. There's a couple of takeaways on this off of my senior NCO brother's question or comment about emotion. One is, the emotion immediately made me put up defenses, and I wasn't listening. The sudden body shake and cigar implant caused me to start listening through the emotion. The other thing was, I learned that sometimes when my boss is emotional, there's reasons for it. He was venting, and it was okay to vent to somebody in the family. Me. I got it. It's okay. And I could learn things from this venting. It all works out in the end. The just take the shot means, Cucolo, just maturely accept criticism. And that's absolutely critical for y'all. People are going to yell at you every now and then. People are going to use ugly words. People are going to go, people will get emotional with you. Cycle it through. Don't react to the emotion. Maturely accept criticism, even if it is emotional coming at you. I tell you what, we had a Vice Chief of Staff of the Army in the Pentagon who was renowned for his passion. And I'd be in meetings where his passion would come out and everybody would get quiet. Big mistake. All he was doing was being himself. So I'm trying to understand where the emotion is coming from. Don't immediately think, yeah, I have brought this upon myself. I'll never get promoted again. That's it. I'm done. These things pass. Just an addendum to that story. Also, don't look for an apology necessarily. I go, no, by the way, so he gets back on the helicopter. I look up at my two guys in the tower, and they're like, new battalion commander by midnight. That didn't happen. I go back in, and 3 days later, General Abzade called me and says, hey, remember Iron 6 came to visit you the other day? Why, yes, sir, I did. And he said, you're okay. Click. That was it. It's not like, really sorry, we know it wasn't you, you're really a great guy, Tony. No, it was, you're okay. Click. I mean, we're in that kind of business. So, master the emotionless argument. And when you are subjected to it, understand, take the shot at that moment and then filter through that and understand there might be reasons for it. But there's a wonderful, matter of fact, I've got it. You guys can have these slides. Once upon a time I was doing an OPD. I was doing an OPD with officers, and I said, gosh, I can define what an officer is with the commission and the oath, etc. But I wonder what a professional is, an officer and a gentleman. And so I found the definition. I'm sorry, it was an all-male unit at that time. And so I found this definition of gentleman. But, one of my favorite, now this was written, I want to say in the 20s or early 30s, maybe even before that, by John Walter Whalen. I modified this to make it gender neutral. Anybody who has teenagers ought to give this to them. But one of my favorite things is the fourth line. The true professional, the true gentleman, the true lady is humbled if necessity compels the humbling of another. If you enjoy chewing ass, you have a problem. Okay? That's what I'm glad I got to laugh at it, actually. It really, it's important. Because have you ever met people that you know are enjoying this? Okay. That's wrong. If I have to humble another, I must. Doesn't say don't do it. But you can do it in a professional, non-personal attack way. And anyway, so okay. Okay, look, I'm really talking to a group that, I'll just tell a story. Division commander, I'm in Iraq, and I got a combat support hospital. So I got 21,965 troops. We had casualties. I had been at Bagram, when I was a one-star at Bagram, I'd seen casualties, not a lot, and been to a lot of ramp ceremonies. But as a division commander, something was different. And the rhythm of the ramp ceremony was, because we had the cache there, the dead were brought to the cache and prepped, because we had the mortuary affairs folks prepped there. But really it was the docs and other folks and squaring the bodies away. And then and then before the ramp ceremony, I don't know if some of you might know this, before the ramp ceremony, commanders and the senior NCO leaders can say goodbye before the bodies get loaded in the transfer case, put on a vehicle, moved to the flight line, and then put on C-17s. So I can picture, so I did that 38 times. I said goodbye 38 times. And I didn't get to see everybody, but if there was not trauma to the face, just the face and the head, if there was not trauma, the body went, please don't put this in the San Antonio paper or anything. I'm okay with it being recorded. The body bag was zipped up to like right here, so you could see the face, which I got love with you, looked incredibly peaceful. It looked like they were asleep. Again, there was some horrible wounding and death in a couple of cases. Anyway, but I remember I walk in. You walk in, and it's like they all happen at night. This moment was at night, but you go in and there's fluorescent lights, and we allowed the commander and the sergeant major to go in alone and say goodbye and come out. So we'd cycle in, and I let battalion commander go in first, brigade commander, I'd go in last. And so I remember walking in and what's in my mind's eye right now is I lost a Kiowa Warrior crew, so it was 2 guys left and right. So I'm standing between 2 gurneys, 2 body bags, 2 sleeping faces of these 2 incredible young warrant officers. One of them was a hellraiser, he was a riot. He was a great guy from Hawaii. Anyway, I'm looking at him, and you're it's such a loss. And you had all these mixed feelings, like, I'm going to get who did this to you. There's a lot of mixed feelings. I'm going to make sure you're never forgotten. You're kind of talking to, at least I do. And then I believe in the supreme being, you're saying a prayer and so on. But I don't know, it was tough because fluorescent lighting, you're standing there, it's quiet, and you hear the hum of a generator, and you hear blades turning on a helicopter in the distance of something leaving, or something coming in, casualties coming in, or a mission departing. The rhythm of a base. And then I'd leave, and I had a long walk back to the JOC, the Joint Operations Center. It's a long walk, but I would have walked. And I kept thinking to myself that what I had to do was live a life worthy of their sacrifice. And so, as brutal and as ugly as each of those moments were to me, as I took that long walk back alone to the Joint Operations Center, and I stepped into this brightly lit, more fluorescent lights and the Predator feed and the maps and the sounds and the hey sir this and hey sir that, I got new energy. I got new energy to behave with character. I got new energy to try and do the right thing because I didn't want to let them down. And so I want to leave you with that thought, as now I was talking to my buddy over here, so Diaz, and he asked me, what's it like being a civilian? It's hard to be, you're in uniform and on the field, and you've got peers who strive to be peers of character, and you can actually actively defend this nation. I took my uniform off. I'm in the stands and I'm cheering you on now. And it's a tough transition. It's a difficult feeling. But the feeling I've taken with me is that when I close my eyes and I look at those, I can see those two warrant officers' faces. I recommit, even as a civilian, to live a life worthy of their sacrifice. So you are in a noble profession. It will remain noble if you continue to pass on your ethos, your heritage, and your character to the rising generations, and you build that character. So I'm proud of you. I'm proud to serve with you still from a distance. And if you need anything, you can find me on LinkedIn, or Sergeant Jorge knows how to get hold of me. Thanks for listening to me, everybody.